Go ahead.
Okay. So there were the three site areas. Again, area one up at the northwest corner is 18 acres of woodland that was restored and at a cost of $480,000. Area two was 32 acres. A larger area was $850,000. And area three at the south end, 25 acres, was $600,000 spent on those projects. Not all of that funding came from just the park district. There was quite a bit of grant funding that was secured, especially for the first two areas. Area one, the Forest Reserve, helped by securing a $200,000 grant. Again, on area two, they were able to get another $200,000 grant, and then we were able to secure a couple more for another roughly $250,000. So there was quite a bit of funding, of grant funding, utilized to pay for those improvements. I wanted to mention also, I just put there at the bottom, Lacey Creek watershed. So the wetland at Lyman Woods flows out of Lyman Woods to the west. It goes under Highland Avenue and continues west, and that's Lacey Creek. And Lacey Creek feeds into, is part of the DePage watershed, DePage River watershed. The county is currently working on, the county stormwater department is working on a watershed plan where they look at an entire watershed and where the flooding and problem areas are within and then make recommendations for improvements to try to resolve some of those issues. We're working with them and hoping that we can get some improvements in Lyman Woods mentioned as recommended improvement. For example, the large wetland in Lyman Woods. We haven't done any restoration work on that yet. The stream bank projects, we basically working upstream, working downhill, essentially restoring as we worked our way towards the middle of Lyman Woods. All those streams flow to the marsh in the middle. We have not yet done anything with the marsh itself, so that may be something down the road that we might want to start looking at. We feel like, and we'll probably discuss this a little more when we get into budget, but it's been 25 years since we did the last master plan for Lyman Woods. So we feel like it might be a good time to start thinking about a new master plan where a company could evaluate all the work that's been done so far and then kind of create new restoration priorities for us for moving ahead. If one of those restoration priorities is in line with what's in the county's watershed plan, that goes a long ways to allowing us to get grants. There are specific grants from the state, stormwater related grants from the state, that if your improvement is called out in the county's watershed plan, you get a lot of points for that towards getting these grants. So we're trying to kind of time everything so that we can potentially go after some grants here coming up related to future improvements at Lyman Woods. The other piece of, so tonight we're talking about requesting authorization to bid our contractual maintenance, the 3-year contract. The majority of that work is in Lyman Woods, but then the other piece of that is at the wetland bank. We call it the 40th and Glendenning Wetland Bank. So this is actually just south of Lyman Woods, kind of south and east of the hospital. And it's a collection of parcels that about 25 years ago, the village and the park district each owned some parcels, and the county asked for permission to construct a wetland. So there was an intergovernmental agreement with the county. They built the wetland, essentially constructed it, paid to construct it, and then they maintained it for a period of time. And now it's basically our responsibility to continue maintaining it. So that's just the wetland there, and actually on the far left side of it is Wallingford Park. The playground that we have right now at Wallingford Park is there on the left side. The biggest parcel there on the left side. And this is just a drawing of the wetland that was created, that the county created there on that site. So that's just a summary of kind of the improvements that have been done at Lyman Woods over the last 20 years with the stream bank projects, and kind of the idea of the contractual maintenance is that we don't go backwards, that we keep the restoration work. It mostly has to do with the woodland clearing and restoration work that occurred. trying to keep invasives from coming back and taking over those areas again. We've got an anticipated cost of $165,000. That's the 3-year, what we're anticipating for the 3-year cost. $140,000 of that being with Lyman Woods in the 3 project site areas, and $25,000 at the wetland bank, which would be budgeted at over 3 years, so it'd be roughly $55,000 per year. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
That was very informative, Paul.
Good.
Yeah.
Good job.
Significant improvements.
It really was. It was amazing, some of the work that was done there, yeah.
For people watching at home, going to miss the first half of Paul's presentation because of the muting.
I'm not sure when they went mute because the lights never went red on the microphones. I just got a notification that there was no audio, so I won't know until we go back and play back the entire recording.
Why don't you repeat
So I
yourself?
start over.
Off the line.
Yeah.
Well, I know that you mentioned in your presentation that we're the lead agency in terms of maintenance of the facility. So there is absolutely no cost sharing with the other disciplines at all. This is going to be 100%.
Correct. This work at Lyman Woods, we have always taken on that. The Forest Preserve oftentimes will get involved to offer advice, or they like to know what's happening out there and be involved in some of the decisions and things like that. But in terms of funding, we've been taking that on up to this point.
So, which goes back to the original intergovernmental agreements that we be the lead agencies.
So I guess my follow-up question then would be, if there's no financial commitment by the other disciplines, should we continue with the way that we're going, or should we investigate just taking over the property ourselves?
I think continuing the way we're going, it probably makes the most sense since we have the joint ownerships of those properties. And the way that the agreement is written, I'm not sure we get any other benefit because right now we're able to do pretty much how we want to operate that out there. We do have to follow some of the county's management plans as far as where we can build and what we can do on the property. To be blunt, if it's not broke, don't try to fix it. And I think we have a really good relationship with them at this point.
And for the benefit of not reading or not having read the original documents, I'm just wondering, is there anything that they prohibit us from doing, or do we have to check with them before we do it?
So like if we're expanding the parking lot or the building, we do have to check with our partners and particularly the Forest Preserve, protected species, both plant and animal. They have very strong voice in that, particularly on the properties they own. That one piece of property that we just bought right before COVID, we specifically bought that on our own and did not include it into the IGA. Specifically with the idea at some point, we could build a facility there for maintenance and parking for our staff and things like that. So we purposely kept that outside of the IGA, so there wouldn't be any of those requirements on there.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
So Lyman Woods, 1, 2, and 3, is that 140 allocated to each of the zones?
It's distributed kind of proportionally, like they're different sizes. So, for example, area 1 is 18 acres, area 2 is 32. So it's that 140 would be for all of it, but
it's one project.
Yes,
Not multiple, not
correct.
multiple
We've
phases.
always bid it out as one, because you economy of scale, essentially, that if a contractor's going to that site, they'd rather do them all.
Okay.
And we've had the benefit of having the same contractor be our maintenance contractor there for many years now, Integrated Lakes Management, ILM, since very early when we started doing maintenance work. They had a project manager that lived here in Downers Grove, and they bid it very competitively early on, and then they've been the low bidder every time since then. And it seems like the good news is they're very familiar with the site now, and they know exactly what it'll take to to do the work, so they can bid it pretty tight to what they know their expected staff time and material time would be. And so we hope that they'll bid it, and every 3 years, we're like, you guys are gonna bid it again, right? We really, it's been beneficial having them, but so it could, we're hoping that it would be something less than this if they bid it again. It has been in recent years less than this amount. But I think we just need to have some, hopefully that they'll bid it again. So
Got it. And Wallingford Park, what's the risk there if we don't spend $25,000 for the wetland area?
So there was an intergovernmental agreement related to the original construction. And then and that had a lifespan that the county maintained it for a certain period of time. And then that ended. And I'm not sure what the if it's actually written in the expectation, what we do after that, but
That we would have to take over.
I think we would take over
I
maintenance.
think there was an expectation that we would appropriately.
Can we get a copy of that? Can we
Yeah,
get a copy?
Yeah, absolutely.
We do nothing though, at Glendenning. It just continues to deteriorate. Is that right?
Right.
Yeah,
I mean,
it would get-
this will move in and then
Yeah.
the cost are restored back to
Yeah.
where it is today.
Increases, okay. Just want to know.
And we would never be able to develop it because it's a wetland, and wetlands are protected in terms of development. So we wouldn't be able to sort of repurpose
Okay.
that property or anything.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
Nice job.
We'll get those two agreements out.
Thank you.
So we need a motion,
Yes, please.
authorize.
Just wait.
Please. We just gonna keep waiting. All right, I'll move to authorize the bid for the Lyman Woods project site area 1, 2, and 3. And the 40th and Glendenning Wetland Mitigation Bank, 3-year maintenance work, 2025 to 2027.
Second,
Moved in second, if there's no other questions or discussion, we have a roll call.
Mr. Bender,
Aye.
Mr. Lunt,
aye.
Mr. Dahlstrom.
Aye.
Aye.
Ms. McDonald. Aye.
Moving on to that grant application.
Next, we're seeking approval of resolution of authorization, OSLA grant program, McCollum Park. I'm going to turn it back over to Paul to just give a little background into where we are to date.
Thanks, Bill. So we're working towards an OSLAD grant application for McCollum Park playground renovation. So the renovation would likely take place in 2026, be budgeted in 2026. But the process would be apply now for this grant, find out in the spring of 25 if we get the grant, and if we do, then we complete all the drawings, go out to bid, award it, be ready to start construction probably in spring of 26. So similar to the process that we just went through with Constitution Park. That was also one of the grants there was an OSLAD grant that paid for about half of that project, Constitution. So in this case, we're looking for we can apply for up to $600,000 through this program with the 50% match, so another 600 from us at least. And so that's what we would do here. We've engaged a consultant to help us with design work and preparing the grant application. And then a part of the grant application is we typically need to do some community engagement. You have to be able to show that as part of your grant application. With our playground renovations, we typically put out a survey that we send to the local residents right around the park. This is what we did at Loy and Northside earlier this year. We did that. We sent the survey to any residents within 500 feet of McCollum Park. It was about 300 addresses. But in addition, because McCollum Park being a community park, we posted a link to that survey through one of our e-blast, our newsletters. And so it went out to a much larger audience. So that actually closed the end of last week. We had 267 responses to the survey. About 180 people answered yes to the question, do your kids play at the McCollum Park Playground. So about 180 people that claim to be using that playground, giving us feedback. So we've given that feedback to our consultants. They're preparing two options for the playground, the renovation there. And then we're gonna have a public meeting to show those two options to residents next Thursday at the park, at McCollum Park. We're hoping to set up at the playground if we can from 6 to 8 p.m. where people can come and view those. Based on feedback we get at that meeting, they'll revise the concept into a single concept that we plan to bring back to you to show the board at the August meeting. And then that would be developed into the final plan that would go for the grant application. Application is due September 13th. Right now, we're estimating that this project is likely to be 1.5 million or possibly a little more, is what we're hearing from the consultants. We have added a little bit to it besides just the playground, because we need to have more parts to get points for the grant, with the grant application. Increase your chances is by having more elements. So for example, the shelter that we were talking about doing this year, we have some money in the budget this year to possibly do a shelter there by the playground. We're proposing to wait and include that as part of this project. Makes sense to do that at the same time as the renovation anyway. And plus then we get a point for adding a new shelter to the playground there. So it helps us with the grant application. Also, we're looking to renovate the adult fitness area that's there right by the playground. That's needing some help. Those pieces have been breaking down and need to be replaced anyway. So we're going to look at renovating that and possibly the horseshoe courts as well, improving those. We haven't made any improvements to those in many, many years. So renovating those and making them ADA accessible as well. So that's kind of the scope that we're looking at this point. Tonight, we're just asking for the board to approve. There's a resolution that as part of the grant application that's required. And so we thought we'd kind of get that out of the way at this point to have the board approve that.
In the survey feedback, did anybody ask for bocce ball?
I've done a quick review of the survey. I haven't read every single individual comment. I did not see any bocce in my review. A lot of the requests, a lot of people asked for a different play surfacing besides the wood mulch that's there. And I think that's our plan, is to use either the synthetic turf like we've started using, or possibly poured rubber, or a combination. So moving away from the mulch.
Talked to a couple of people who played in the Constitution Park. They're loving that.
Good. And we'll have it again on the next two, the Loya North Side, which will be starting up this fall.
Recall the existing playgrounds have this concrete curb around there. So part of it is looking at removing that. Personally watched, Paul has seen too, kids go running and they trip on that curb all the time. That was there to keep the wood chips in. So this is an opportunity to try and rectify that.
Spring ground opening, both of my kids tripped over that curb.
I think I've tripped over it too. Love it. Yeah. Which adds to the cost.
I've never figured out why they did that. All of our other playgrounds, it's not raised like that. And that's the only playground where they raised it. I don't know why.
And with the two separate, they run.
They're always
together. Yeah.
Where would the closest bike rack be to the playground?
But we have the one that we just installed there by the parking lot.
Where by the parking lot?
So where the porta potty was
Okay,
before we opened the splash pad, that's now bike rack.
It's kind of hidden a little bit. It's hard.
It's out by the street, but
I just saw like two pickleballers the other day who rode their bikes to pickleball, and obviously
yeah,
one of them brought the bikes onto the court. Locks it.
I have seen
one right up.
Yeah, well, we need to look at
Yeah, we can.
finding one near the entrance there. I've seen people chain their bikes to the fence there at pickleball, so yeah,
But if it serves some purpose with the playground too, that'd
sure.
be nice to do.
Yeah.
Motion.
Yeah, I can get you this time, Brett. I move to approve the OSLAD resolution of authorization for the McCollum Park renovation project.
I'll second it.
Second other discussion. Can we have the roll, please?
Mr. Dahlstrom.
Aye.
Ms. McDonald. Aye. Mr. Bender.
Aye.
Mr. DeCouva. Mr. Lunt.
Aye.
Thank you.
Moving along to the board business, the only comment I have, I hope everyone's enjoying National Recreation Parks Month. Got a lot going on, so it's a very exciting time of the year. So enjoy it. And then the commissioner comments?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I'm dog sitting this week, so I've been walking around Barth Pond a lot and having the 2 rainfalls like we did this week. And to still be able to walk around the park, yeah, the water was high for a couple of days and it's already nearly back to normal. I know a lot of times residents may not realize how much work went into keeping that park open at times like this, and you know, the day after the rain, people are back there fishing and everything like that. So I know that wasn't that long ago that we did the big overhaul on Barth Pond, or is my memory?
We did good dredging 5 years?
Yeah.
19.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's.
No, that was a Prince, are you talking about Prince Pond or Barth Pond?
Barth.
Yeah, Prince was 19.
Prince was 19.
Barth was like 14, maybe.
Was it that long ago?
Yep.
But you
I'm
also
living
did,
here.
also did that whole stream back.
The shoreline
Right.
was just before that. That was around 12. Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, I've just been living here long enough to remember when that would just
Yeah.
like flood all the time.
Yeah.
And so it's just so nice that it works so well now. I'm able to enjoy the day after a rain like that. And you were here for all of that, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think the village has done some work downstream, opening up some of the creek downstream so that there's more area for it to drain to. Probably helped some.
But it's just, it's like when it used to rain like that, you couldn't walk across that path. So
How are the geese on the north side?
on the north side, they're minimal, but they're there. They're tough. Some of them. Here the dog was running at them. But you know, a couple dozen of them.
Yeah, the north side along 55th Street,
Yeah.
Yeah.
they're pretty bad.
Well, I mean, like I said, the street toughs, they didn't back down when a 35-pound dog came running at them.
I'd love to find a way to remove them from that entire area. We gotta figure it out. Maybe get a-
Yeah.
Get rid of the water.
Yeah.
Make it so geese don't like.
Just for the upcoming fishing derby day, the youngest member of the Dahlstrom family has requested some really huge fish to be put into Barth Pond.
They're in there. You just.
Yeah.
I'd like to, is that all right? Okay. So yesterday we had the opportunity to have, lunch with Kathy Mahoney and propose the idea of, naming the Park District Recreation Center, the Kathy Mahoney Activity Center. And, she was humbled by the idea, delighted by the idea. And so with that, with her, well, I'd like to start the discussion of naming the Downersville Park District Recreation Center, the Kathy Mahoney Activity Center. I'd like to invite the commissioners to.
I think it's a great idea. He was doing this thing before she was a board member, trying to get this building done. I can imagine there'd be a more worthy person to have a name.
I've always been on board. I just have one question. So move from recreation to activity. So a little slight change in the name.
Yeah, and then,
That was a recommendation from staff that I think the facilities evolved a little bit, and we're looking at doing some remodeling in that, and there's activities that happen in here, and it's a little bit more of a thing, so it seemed like a good time, good window of opportunity to just update that portion.
Rick said it just flows right off the tongue.
Well, it won't be the rec center, it'll be the Mahoney Center.
Mahoney Activity Center, or people call it the MAC.
Yeah.
Same thing. Go to the Mac.
And then Eric, we talked about lengthening the name just for, to get as many letters in as possible.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
Oh, Catherine, whatever, Louise, whatever. So,
And our policy is after this discussion, to bring it back formally for board consideration, after 2 months. But we did, assuming the board does approve it after that, of looking at not making that official change until probably spring of next year. Giving some time to be able to plan, that event and change the signage.
So the goal would be to change the signage, and have it installed. Right. Yeah, great.
We would be looking at the sign on the outside of the building.
Yep.
And the entrance sign, that's an opportunity to improve the visibility of that entrance sign a little bit as well. I'd like to have a conversation with C-Spar. I'm a pretty small presence on that sign, and maybe there's an opportunity for us to work with them a little bit so they can get a little more presence there as well.
Got it, okay. I think it's great. Thanks for taking Kathy to lunch. Introducing the idea.
Okay, that outside.
And the first thing you should do tomorrow morning is to go into the basement where Brett found the VHS tape from the dedication of this building. It goes back to the original and save it for, we could replay it again on the.
There we go.
Nice.
Maybe first.
If anyone's got a
You need to find a VCR.
I'll convert it to.
You'll convert it.
Yeah, convert it. to
Probably
CD,
should
and then
convert it, right?
convert it digitally. Probably 2 steps.
So it'll still look like VHS when it plays,
Yes.
so.
I can help you with that.
retro benefit.
Okay.
All right, we will bring a formal resolution back to you after the 2 months.
Staff reports.
I have just 2 items this evening. I sent some text message to you on our first day of registration that once again, we were experiencing some software glitches with our VSI registration software. Staff has been back and forth on that software for a while. Based on that, I've asked staff, we're gonna hold back on adding the app to that. And I've asked staff to seriously go out and start exploring other softwares. It just appears, and I've seen this happen before. Software companies enter the market, they kind of flood the market, everybody has that, and then they start to fall behind the times. And I think that's what's happening with VSI. Just for example, I think you only have 100 active users on there at a time. That seems crazy to me because every park district, every recreation agency has first day registration, and there's more than 100 people. So that will take some time. That conversion process is always very difficult because there's so much data and the process to do that. But I think we've reached a time that we really need to take a look and start looking at what other options out there. There's a lot of other vendors out there. But I think we can't keep having these glitches every time that we have registration starts. It's really hard on our customers. Our service level goes down. We just have to, I think, it's time for us to start looking at that. So that's a process we're going to start doing as well. Secondly, as you know, in the consent agenda, we had our final payout to FH Passion, which is the firm that did the actual construction of the spray ground. I wanted to just draw your attention over the last operating days. We've been uncovering a little bit of an issue that had nothing to do with the construction. So that was why we recommended paying that final payout. Since we've opened, we've experienced when all the features are running at full capacity. It's not draining like the way it should be. We start backing up water at the drains. The solution staff has come up with is we've dropped the level in the surge tank to accommodate that. So we've been operating, the public has no idea, this has just been an operating issue. But the consequence of doing that is there's not as much water in that surge tank, which means that that water is dirtier than what it was spec'd and designed to be, which means the filter is now getting dirty faster, and now we are backwashing and cleaning the filters more often than we should be. It's operating, but it's not operating the way it was specifically designed to operate. We expect some clogs in some of our features. That's normal. We're getting a little more than we should be. We also think that's because of the lower level. So WT Engineering is the firm that did all the engineering on that, and we've had them look at that. We've actually had cameras running all the lines to make sure they were fine. And they've come back and said that they made a mistake in the calculation on that surge tank. That it's too small for our system. Now, if you recall, when we built that, dug a hole, poured a concrete vault, and we built the building around it. So that makes making that tank bigger. Paul and I had a Zoom meeting today with WT. I will start by saying they have committed to fix this issue and at their cost. There would be no cost to us, which had that not been the case, I was willing to propose to the board to fight that because that was their error. On top of that, during construction design meetings, at least one occasion, if probably more than that, we did question if that tank was right sized, and we were told it was. During construction, representatives from Passion questioned it again. Paul reached out again. We have documentation of all this, and we were told, don't worry about it, it's fine. So this was their responsibility on that. So they're working on coming up with plans to address this issue. Just making that vault bigger is not feasible because of the way it's constructed. The fix they're looking at right now is constructing a second vault that all that water will go into the first vault and pour into the second vault and come up, which would create the capacity overall that we need, and then we should get the drainage that we have. It's a lot more complicated than that sounds because there's a lot of pipes, wires, everything else, and where do you put the vault? How do you make this all work? So it's still fairly preliminary on how they're going to do that. But we just finally, within the last week, what the issue was, who was responsible, and what the fix is. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. I don't think the public has any, they won't see a difference. It's more on how do we maintain this whole thing and run it correctly.
Did you anticipate that being something that gets done this fall after the
Probably it's first thing in the spring.
spring?
Yeah. And it needs to open on time. And they will do all the permitting. They're doing all the paint. They're going to pay for it. They're going to take care of the whole thing. We will look to enter into a contract with them at no cost, just so that we have some legal documentation with that. But they'll take care of it. I luckily had bumped into the owner of WT a couple of months ago, and when this was first coming out, and I had said to him, if it's an engineering issue, you're going to take care of this, right? So I think that's helped too a little bit, but I think it was a good conversation today. I don't think they fully have figured out exactly how engineering is going to work on it, but they're committed.
Was there any discussion on where the second tank would be?
Yeah, outside the fence, kind of north of the party tent, if you will.
Figured that's right where it was gonna go.
Or kind of east and north of that, by the tennis courts there. That's a much longer run, obviously. There's a lot of pipes out there and there's a lot of wires, so trying to figure out where we can fit that in is what the issue is. And then they got to get the right depths and flow rates, because the one's got to flow to the other without holding water. So that's for them to fix. Okay. And you can't put it next to the building because all the pipes on the south side of the building, which when you stand out there, it's like, oh, that's a perfect spot. Every single pipe from every feature comes in the building right there, so there's no way you can set that. I'm that happy. That's all I have. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. I also have two items and I'll start off with McCollum Park. The first item is regards to getting fiber out to McCollum Park. As you may recall, that was a goal of ours with Adventure Falls. And with potential pickleball tournaments in the future is to get fiber out there. Chris has been working with Comcast for a number of months. That can be a difficult and long process. If you go out there right now, you will see some spray painting done. This was some initial markings for installing the fiber. Chris is currently in conversations with them as to exactly where it's going to be. But the plan is to have them bore these fiber lines underground for us. And then from there, Chris can move on with some consultants from outside the park district on placing the appropriate devices to ensure we have strong coverage for Wi-Fi in the Adventure Falls area. So that's what that spray painting is out there. It should only be spray painted for Adventure Falls building where you check in. However, they did spray it there and for the maintenance building. That's one of the things Chris is clearing up. We'll have it go into one location and then from there, the Wi-Fi devices that will spread it out so that it can be used in various areas. The second item I have is our friends at RJM Strategy Group came out today. This is Ray McCurry's group. Ray is a former police officer, chief of police, and executive director for the Naperville Park District. This is the third time we've had him out, and he specializes in security strategy. They came out and presented some bomb and SWAT training through our full-time staff. They can then pass on to their staff too. It gave us some great strategies moving forward, ways to update our current policies to improve them. And it was a nice refresher for our staff. There's a lot of items in there that you may not be thinking of daily that as a former police officer and someone that ran park districts, he and his partner, who former police officer that actually works at Lewis University now as their chief of police, were able to bring out to us some tips and ideas. So I thought that went very well, I have to say, and I think others agree. This is their third time out and they really keeps everyone's attention. And I think people appreciate what they have to say. So that was very successful for us. And then with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Questions on that? Are we gonna bring up the Meadowbrook redevelopment project?
Yeah, I was gonna circle back. I realized I had missed that. So under my report, I had letter from the village regarding Meadowbrook shopping area. What the village is proposing to do is create a TIF area that is just that strip mall. So nothing around it, but just that strip mall. And the idea being that the improvements from the strip mall would fund that TIF district. I've had conversations with the village administrator on that to ensure that that's all that would be. So everybody familiar with that strip mall is. So it's not the best strip mall in the world. I've been trying to improve that. My recommendation to the park district is that really is not going to affect us that much because it is so small. The increment's going to be small and it really, I don't think it's going to benefit down there in the long run. So I didn't really have any recommendations, comments unless the board had.
Do we have to consent to a TIF district or only the extension of a TIF district?
So we will, because we're one of the taxing bodies, once they start that process, they'll start hearings, they'll start a TIF board. We will have a seat on that. And we will have a vote in that. If there's enough votes that say no, then the TIF issue would die. That usually doesn't happen. But we would have a vote yes or no at at the end of that process. So this is just the start of getting comments. Then we will get all the legals, we'll get all the costs, the budget projections. We'll have an invitation to join the TIF review body. Can't remember what the exact legal name of it is. And then we will sit through those hearings. So it's all the taxing representatives from all the taxing bodies affected, as well as members of the public that's in there. I think it's 2 members. I haven't been on one in a while, Eric too. And then I think it's 3 or 4 meetings. I think it's 4 meetings before the actual vote would come up. And then that's just a recommendation to the village board who takes the final action.
Right, so we don't really have
Correct.
an ability to halt it.
Right, so the advisory board could come back as a no and the village board can ignore it and overturn it. Thank you.
Next then, recreation. Michelle.
Good evening. Just going to give a few highlights from the recreation report. So we're just over halfway through summer camp for this year. Participation numbers have continued to rebound after a slow start to registration in the spring. So our traditional full day camps and our nature camps have now exceeded our 2023 participation numbers. Most of our camps will end August 9th, but we do still have a few camps that go all the way through August 16th when school starts. For special events, the summer concert series continues to be a successful event for the community, despite some challenging weather we have had this year. It was especially exciting to have the concert series featured on NBC5 News back on June 11th. There are still 4 more concerts this summer. We have a few other recreation department events coming up in August, including the fishing derby on August 3rd at Barth Pond. We have the flag football combine day at Dorhofer Park on August 4th. And then our Tiny Tots track meet at Downers Grove North High School on August 25th. For the museum, we had descendants of the Blodgett family joined us for our Underground Railroad tour of the 1846 house on June 22nd. And at Lyman Woods, we had over 40 people attend our cicada celebration out there. I think that was one of the few places in the park district that we did celebrate the cicadas, and we were excited about them. But that was a great event with some crafts and games and some cicada inspired snacks. We did not eat cicadas. And then last but certainly not least, a few updates about the operation at Adventure Falls from the recreation side. Carter Patton has done an excellent job with hiring and training a brand new set of staff, our first ever Adventure Falls staff. Everything is from a recreation side. I know Bill mentioned the challenges from the operation of the spray ground, but from a rec side, it's going very, very well. We were really proud to see all of our processes work the way we thought they would work, with just a few tweaks here and there, especially because it's new to all of us. The average weekly attendance at the spray ground for the month of June was almost 900 people. The highest spray ground attendance at one time has been 128 people. So that's in comparison to our 200 person capacity. So far, we've had 14 shade structure rentals booked throughout the summer, with 8 of those being in June. Almost 800 households in Downers Grove have purchased the annual pass for the spray ground, which was really exciting to see. Additionally, mini golf has been doing really well. It really has revived out there from in the past. We've had over 2,000 rounds of mini golf just by June 30th. On June 30th itself, just that one day alone, we had over 200 rounds of mini golf. We've received a lot of positive feedback regarding the new turf, the water features that are working again, and the new portable obstacles that we have out there. We've also had a few special events out there, special days, with a Father's Day special with 68 father figures participating in that day, and a Sunday Fun Day event that was put on by our summer intern. We have a couple more days. Actually, one was just this past Saturday for Mother's Day. Since Mother's Day was before we opened, we still wanted to celebrate that. And then we have one for Grandparents' Day on August 11th, where they can come for free on those days. And with that, I can answer any questions.
Questions for me? We'll go right into fitness.
Okay, I will also do that. Just a few highlights. Fitness has remained pretty steady. It's summer, so we'll see in the fall and the winter, we are much busier. One highlight I really want to mention was our silver sneakers classes. We were having some space concerns at the Lincoln Center previously with the classes were so popular, which was great, but the rooms were too small for that. So Marie has actually added a few classes at the Lincoln Center, but we are now doing pre-registration for those. So we can control the number, but by adding the extra classes, it has worked very well. And we've been getting some very positive feedback. We have not received any complaints since doing that, which is great. But we've also added a drop-in class here at the rec center, which has had about 10 people on a regular basis come on Fridays. That is working very well. We're going to continue that into the fall since it does appear to be working. And then Marie has also done a lot of outdoor fitness classes out at Fishel Park this summer. So she has a whole outdoor fitness schedule going on that is free to anyone in the community, including sunset yoga, Zumba, and body combat. Those were just in June, but we have a lot more coming up in July and August as well. You happy to answer any questions there?
Kevin, welcome.
Good evening. Last month we talked a lot about cicadas, so we won't go over that much. But we did anticipate that we're gonna have a big impact on our numbers, and look at the numbers, they had little to no impact. In fact, we had a record-breaking month for the golf course, bringing in $382,000 in revenue for the month. This actually allowed us to break the $1 million mark in total revenue, which last year was a record on July 1st, and I think it was June 20th or something this year. We broke that record, the $1 million mark. One of the metrics that we look at is, basically when the golfers do come out, how much money we're getting per golfer. And one of the things that we looked at is last month is that we were able to average $52 per golfer coming in. Now that takes into account of everything in terms of lessons, driving range, food and beverage, and green fee and cart fee. Most of this money increase from over previous year was found in the driving range and those taking advantage of our food and beverage. That's become even, I was just at the golf course before I came here today, and the patio is completely full. And that's usually on a Wednesday night, that's no problem, but on Thursday nights and Friday night and Saturday, it's starting to become the norm. Camps and lessons continue to be at high demand and full capacity. For the months of June, as really our focus is always on the junior golfer. Obviously all the juniors get out of school and there's more time for them to play. We start our family rate. Our family rate allows our juniors to play for free after 6 o'clock with the paid adults. There were a number of those that I checked in before I came here today. So definitely a lot of families taking advantage of that. And our junior golf program, which is on Mondays, is had 88 participants this year. One of the things I want to kind of go over is what is going on with our capital projects. The installation of our sound system and entertainment was almost complete, where we're still looking to get the TV. The TV has been installed. We'll get the cable into any day now. The TV up and running, but the whole entire music, where it's on the patio inside the clubhouse and on the driving range, is fully functional now. It brings a nice experience for all the golfers. And our fryer has been installed, our ventless fryer. The staff is being trained on how to use that, and new different appetizers, things are going to be added to the menu. So just another thing to keep the golfer at the golf course following the round and take advantage of the whole entire experience. Other than that, I have any questions, I'm being happy to answer.
Thank you, Ken. Move on to marketing.
All right, so as Bob mentioned, July is Parks and Recreation Month, so we have a free calendar of activities on our website, and we've been doing social media posts to remind people of what these different free amenities in our parks may be, or free programs that we're offering, as Michelle mentioned, fitness official, group exercise classes, we've been promoting those. So trying to get more folks out there and maybe try some things that they haven't done before. We have a new little free library at Patriots Park. So that was donated by the Nagel family. And so now people can visit the playground at Patriots. If they're hanging out around that area, they can grab a book, share a book, bring books to share with others. And I just wanted to say thanks to the Parks team for making that happen. That was a kind of a little unique project. And I know we do have another free little library at the Lincoln Center. So now the district has two. We've been planning the Constitution Park ribbon cutting ceremony. So again, that will be held at 6 p.m. on August 7th, and it will feature a short program. We have special guests, Senator Gloria Hilton joining us. We'll have music and a little scavenger hunt. And then we do have 3 community partners that will be joining us. So CSPAR, the library, and Equality Downers Grove plan to set up a table and have giveaways and information about their organizations to kind of tie together all of that, all of the inclusive features of the playground and try to tap into the families that will be enjoying that. We have a party in the park planned at Randall Park on August 8th. So that's from 4 to 6 p.m. We have dinosaur themed activities for this one, and we'll have 7 sponsors on site, again, offering activities and giveaways. And then the last thing I wanted to highlight was the Big Dill Pickleball Tournament that Michelle's team has been planning. So Josh Williams is taking the lead on that. That will be held at McCollum Park on September 8th. So we're rolling out a lot of fun promotions in the coming weeks to get the word out about that event. So that'll take any questions.
Well, I'm sure everybody else read in NRPA Smart Brief about that Constitution Park was actually written up in there. The article that came out of the patch, but that was a nice little exposure on a national kind of level. Speaking of.
Thank you. Just 2 items I wanted to mention this evening. First is master plan update. Our consultant, staff and our consultant are working towards having a full report to share with the board at the next meeting. So we're targeting the August 15th meeting to share that final document with the board. And then second is next week we'll be starting our district-wide asphalt paving project for the summer, which is primarily Gilbert Park. The parking lots and the pathways and the basketball court all at Gilbert Park will be renovated. And so that park will be, the parking lot and the pathways will be closed during that project. Since all of it is asphalt and is being replaced, that will be closed for 2 to 3 weeks. So we have had camps there all summer, and they will be relocating over to Memorial Park for that during that time. But just wanted to let everyone know that that's starting next week. That's all I have.
I have one question. At Constitution Park, the bioswale. Who's doing the installation on that?
That's our site contractor, D&J Landscape. And they've been telling us they're going to get to it. And in fact, I think this week they started pumping the water out to drain it basically, so that then they could bring in the soil to fill it in. So we're hoping that since they're pumping it out this week, that they're going to be filling it in with the new soil next week.
The dirt on spot, is that for that project or is that something else?
The dirt.
There's some dirt, that's a couple piles of dirt.
There by the swale.
Closer to like the pavilion.
I'll have to check. I didn't recall there being any left there, but they'll be bringing soil in for the bioswale is actually amended soil.
Right.
So they actually dug it out, what was there, and they're bringing in special soil to put back in. So.
Any other questions for Paul? Yeah, Kevin, Parks and Facilities.
Yes, good evening. Parks and Facility staff has been busy. Parks, obviously with the storms this past week, they were pretty busy with a lot of cleanup. Nothing really big, but just a lot of debris all over the place. And as you can see in the report, one of the highlights in the report, we have we hired a contractor to regrade field 3 at McCollum and then do some work on field 1. We typically have always done that in-house in the past, but with all the programming going longer and longer into the, deeper and deeper into the season, it's harder and harder to get out there and do it. They'll bring in, 15 to 20 staff members and they knock it out in one day versus us spending, 7 to 10 days renovating a ball field. So we're looking to expand this next year to maybe add a second field into that, to do maybe 2 fields a year. Just get them on a rotation, just so that we keep our fields in good shape. And then park staff has also been very busy getting ready for the fishing derby party in the park at Randall and then the grand opening at Constitution. So been working on that. Facility staff is right now we have replacement. Actually on here it says that we approved the replacement of fire panels. They're in process of being put in right now at the golf clubhouse maintenance, in the maintenance building, McCollum Maintenance and Whitlock Park. And then right now we're ramping up, trying to secure all the work we're gonna get done at the rec center during the closure. And then that's toward the end of August. And then Lincoln Center, from the August 12th through 31st, we have the gym floor going in, gym padding as well on the walls, and then some miscellaneous. We're trying to get some flooring done in a couple of the rooms as well. And then last but not least, just because the community enjoys it so much, the Prince Pond aerators. We have one that is down currently. We got, we think it's either the cord or the motor's bad. We're hoping it's the cord. So we have a new cord on order. So within 7 to 10 days, we should have that one back up and running. So and that's all I have.
And the lights are gonna be on then too, or?
Yeah, so the lights are working on both, but the actual aerator is not working on the south side. So yes.
Hey, Kevin, do you know the approximate cost that we paid the contractor for the McCollum Park ball field?
Yes, 15,000. So they'll come in and they basically cut out the lip. They pull out a bunch of the material, kind of pull it all into the center, and then add a bunch of new material and grade it all out and clean it up.
Kevin, I do have a quick question from last meeting. With the fencing along Belmont Prairie.
Yes.
Is there anything with that?
Yeah, so Paul and I actually were heading out there to look at it one day, but didn't end up making it out there. But yes, we are gonna replace that.
Okay.
I'm not sure. So I thought it was in this year's budget. There's a line item in there for that. So I think we'll probably end up having to budget it for next year.
Thank you.
And when we burn the prairie out there, how close does that get to the fence line?
Usually we'll cut strips in there just so that it doesn't get close to the fence there. So we'll cut around the perimeter and then just so that it's basically, I forget what they call them.
Burn break.
Fire breaks. Yeah, fire breaks. There you go. So yeah. Just so that it doesn't get right up against the fence and burn the fence.
Anything else? Bishop.
Good evening. The district received $4.45 million in property tax distributions in June. We will begin seeing large cash outflows related to Constitution Park in July. You may have noticed that on the list of payment of bills already, along with the other large capital projects following in the fall. Revenues are trending at 52% of budget as of June, which is great. Rec revenues came in high due to an extra week of camp in June of 2024 versus 2023, coupled with Adventure Falls opening and Minor Mike's reopening this year. And as Ken said, golf eclipsed $1 million in June and continues to exceed staff's expectations. Operating our expenses are at 42% of budget. This is slightly lower than the 44% we saw last year. Expenses continue to be monitored, especially as we are now entering budget season. Overall, staff is pleased with the district's financial position after the first 6 months of the year, and I am happy to take any questions.
Chris.
Thank you. Just to highlight a couple of things, staff is currently working on open health and request tickets on various issues that need resolution. Work is also currently underway relocating the Comcast and audio equipment here at the Recreation Center. That's to make more room for the fitness center floor expansion. We're also wrapping up the installation of the audio system at the golf course that Ken touched up on. And then one other thing is over the weekend of the 6th, what we did on Sunday night is we shut down the Rec Track registration server to increase resources for it so that the registration day of the 8th, what we did is to try and ensure peak performance for opening registration, which did work for registration. As far as I know, we did not have any registration issues. The server did run into a performance issue as far as the Rec Track application itself, which affected us internally only, did not affect the resident registration. So. And with that, I'd be happy to.
No questions.
Thank you, Chris. On the C-SPAR.
Just two quick things under C-SPAR. We had a C-SPAR meeting Tuesday, so after that, I had a dean add to your board pack. So what's under C-SPAR right now is the seasonal breakdown of participation. So you can see from there, their participation continues to climb as well. And our Downers Grove participation is very healthy and in line with what I would expect for our size in relationship to the other member size. And Matt and I continue to interview various architectural firms regarding this facility. Happy to answer any C-SPAR questions.
No questions.
Any unfinished business?
Not yet. Not yet.
And is there a second opportunity for recognition of visitors?
No online.
Not meeting to check it. So I'll announce them. The next Downers Grove Park Board meeting will be held on August 15th, 2024 at the Recreation Center in this multi-purpose room. Yeah, they ask for more from adjourned. So moved. And second, a roll call, please.
Mr. Lot?
Aye.
Mr. Bender?
Aye.
Mr. Dahlstrom?
Aye.
Mr. Katula?
Aye.
Ms. McDonald?
Aye.